This masterclass is about coming into an understanding of what it's like to have somebody support you, what it's like to have somebody on your side that really understands you and is with you through your journey of unfoldment of awakening. So, my intention is that for all of you, that you learn something about yourself and that you can take something from this masterclass into your lives to use it, whether we work together in the future or not, that you really take something in today and you can grow from this experience, because nothing is more valuable than your time. Your time is not something you can get back. So I just want to say I really appreciate you all for showing up today and for being here. So let's dive right in. Okay, so one of the first things that we'll talk about is your human design. So the human design it's based on, this is the book, and it is based on the Chinese I Ching, your DNA, the chakra system, astrology, astronomy, and it's a very in-depth read into who you are as a human being. It is based on your unique divine blueprint. And so the thing about this is, like, a lot of times we struggle with certain things. Like, for example, I had a client the other day say that she needed validation from her mother, and she was wondering if there was anything from her childhood that we could go back and we could look at and see if it was that. And from knowing her design, because as your life coach, I would be looking at your design and noticing when you speak, when you say stuff, when things come up for you, how that's reflecting in who you are. So when we looked at her design, she needed that. She needs people supporting her. So it wasn't like a problem for her to want validation from people. Her design requires her to be surrounded by people that get her, that love her, that cheer her on, and that's going to drive her into ultimate success. So her thinking it was a problem was actually not at all. It was part of her gift, and she just needed the tools to show her the way. So human design for me, and I didn't find this until I was probably 37 or 38. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I only knew this earlier in life, my life would have completely changed, because there's certain things, even just knowing your personality. For example, I'm a generator and my husband's also a generator. So for the two of us, we can't chase things. If we chase things, it just falls flat. Like, for example, I always, the acting career. I had the agent, the manager, I had done the headshots, the classes, everything. And, I just hadn't booked that dream job. I was booking a job every 10 days, but I was really chasing it. And when I realized my design, it's like I looked back and everything that I'm doing now just literally fell into my lap because I had created it. It just kind of came in. So, and that was part of the design. It's not about chasing things. So when you know who you are, this is one of the most important things, even about having a life coach and about growing on this spiritual path and this spiritual journey, is learning who you are as a person. Okay, learning who you are and what your gifts are. This is so important. Okay, so and you can go about this by, you can go on to online, you can go to get your free design, and human design, and you could just plug in your information on your own. You can get the book and you can start to do the work on your own. It's incredible. Another system like this as well is Gene Keys, but this is the one that I use for my clients. So next, health. Okay. It's the fastest way to enlightenment. Eating well. right? If you want to feel good, if you want to feel light, if you want to, if you want to just, I mean, even in meditation, the information that drops in when you're clean, when you're eating clear, is everything. And it's also part of self-love, which is a huge part of this practice. Okay, so what does that look like? When you're in a container with me or a group coaching calls, we're going to talk about food and how important it is, and water, and eating organic food. We were just actually in Costa Rica, and some of the animals, the sloths, were very ill. And it was because they said the commercial farming, they sprayed all the organic chemicals and herbicides and pesticides, and the animals are getting sick. Okay, so like, I took that opportunity in this little tour we had, and I said, "Hey everyone, that's why we should all be eating organic and supporting organic restaurants, supporting organic farmers at farmers markets, trying to grow our own food, even if we have a tiny little window and we could put a little basil up there, whatever it is, start. Just start today. Start with something small. Okay, we can do that. We can, even the water that we're drinking, the water, in 1942, they started putting the fluoride in the water, and the fluoride calcifies the pineal gland. And then the pineal gland is the gland that is the guardian of all the other glands, plus the thyroid. And if this is messed up, we don't have serotonin, we don't have dopamine, and we don't have oxytocin. And those are the ingredients of joy, of feeling good, of health, of being able to have a good sleep. And that's because we're drinking the tap water. And even Brita, you can't filter out all of those toxins in the water. Okay, so Scott, my husband, has done, if you're interested, he's got a podcast on water and drinking distilled water, how important that is, or getting a reverse osmosis on your system, eating organic food. Okay, so we'll talk about all of that, juicing, how important that is, ways that you can start to minimize the amount of processed food that you're eating. And then from there, we start to refine that. And pretty soon you're just going to be like, whoo, running around like the hairdresser say, wow, your hair is so beautiful. It's like, how are you? I put this blonde stuff and it doesn't even get dry and frizzy. Like, what are you doing? Okay, so when people start to ask you what you're doing, then you can also become a life coach. A lot of clients that come to me, they start to coach in their own capacity too, because they all of a sudden have all these secrets, and they're like, wow, I'm I feel so good. I'm doing something different. And it's when people come to you and they say, what are you doing? And that's when you can share, right? We don't want to share from a place of I know better, because everybody's egos need to figure out the journey on their own. Everybody's brain wants to think, I figured it out. Okay, so we have to give that to everyone. So when you have a life coach, half of the answer is in the questions. So it's about the questions that I ask you to help you figure it out on your own. Okay, so that you can come to the realization. Sometimes we just need a sounding board, like a best friend. Another thing is, like, how often can we go to social media or go to anyone and be like, guess what? I had a 10K month, or guess what? I love my life. Like, most of the time, not everybody shares in that space. So in these kind of containers, this is where you can share everything. This is where you have a space that you can really open up, and you have a sounding board and somebody to continue to lift you up and raise you up and go as high as we're meant to be going in this planet. Okay, we're not meant to be slaves at 9-to-5 jobs we hate, doing if even dealing with illnesses. There's ways. I Hi, beautiful. There's one of my little babies. Yes. So yes. So really, we're really meant to be thriving. We're really meant to be thriving, and this life is actually, it's here for us. Okay. So even when we have a challenge, even when we go through these struggles, we can say, you know, okay, I got to trust the universe. I got to trust the universe. Like, this is the biggest thing that you will learn in these containers is about trust and working that muscle. It's a muscle. If we don't work it, then we're going to think that the universe is just a random generator throwing all this garbage at us and it's somebody else's fault. But we learn that when we take radical responsibility for our life, we are actually creating everything, and everything is here for us. Even those so-called challenges, even those difficult upbringings, even those difficult experiences, we learn how we can grow. We also learn to forgive. I wrote about that in the email. Forgiving, when we break down words, words have meaning. So that's another thing. I really watch you guys when you're speaking. Are you speaking into creation, something you want, you desire? Or are we speaking in a way that is saying, I'm calling in, for example, an example. I have no time. I have no time. My life is crazy. I'm so busy. Can't even brush my teeth. The kids are screaming, whatever it is. Okay. That kind of conversation is going to reflect back to you like a hall of mirrors, all the ways that you have no time, all the ways that you are struggling. Okay. And if we shift that, it's so simple. It is so simple to shift that and start saying, I have plenty of time. I have so much time. I create my own schedule. I travel the world all over the place. I I love my life. I do what I want. Okay, just by shifting that language, just by shifting that conversation, we can shift everything. Okay, so there's that. Another one is that I had to shift was I don't have funds for that. I can't afford that, or I don't have money for that right now. Okay, there's a different language that we can start to speak out into the universe with. We can start to say, every day, in every way, I'm generating more money. I'm bringing in more money into my life. Every day, in every way, creates an opening. Okay, so when we say something like, I have tons of money, when you really have zero in your bank account, that feels like a lie in your mind. So you start to shift the conversation. You start to shift what you're speaking into reality. Okay. Even, for example, I had a birth the other day, and the woman was like, I can't. And then the doctor said, you've got to start chanting, I can. And this birth was leading to, a potential C-section. And as soon as she started chanting, I can do it, it was like a whole new energy came into the room. Okay. And this is going to lead into our next topic, which is meditation. So, as a life coach, I will give you a meditation, a practice. And there's many different kinds of meditations. Meditation isn't just sitting still and being quiet. You can do a walking meditation. You can do a meditation with mantra. You can meditate with music. You can meditate with yoga nidra. There's so many different ways. So we find one that works for you. And the reason that we need to come into a meditative practice, number one, is because the most successful people in the world meditate. It's just a no-brainer. coming into this stillness of who you truly are, and being able to listen. Okay, so when I first started to meditate, this is, some of you've heard this story, I started to call myself a dozy. I heard that I was calling myself a dozy, which is a no good for nothing bum. It was a term that we used to use back home in Saskatchewan, and and I was shocked. I was shocked when I heard this. I was like, wow, I'm calling myself a no good for nothing bum. Like, no wonder I'm a waitress and I'm not married. Like, I was doing all these, I was shoulding all over myself. Okay. I was like, I should be married. I should have a house. I should be successful by now. I should be this. I should be that. Ooh, it was getting like a little brown in my world, and I didn't realize I didn't realize that this was my inner self-talk until I started to meditate. And where did it come from? It came from my childhood. It came from the things I heard in my household that I had picked up, but were playing in my subconscious mind. Okay, so we dive into the subconscious mind in this work. We dive in and we look at what happened from 0 to 7. Okay, so it's not the end of the world if we come from a C-section. We never want to like just schedule a C-section for the fun of it. Why? Because when we come from a C-section, if we have conscious parents, we realize that we have to hold the baby. We have to go to the baby. Dad has to be with the baby because mom is healing, and just console the baby. Everything's okay. You came into the world through mommy's belly, like consoling them. And back in the day, we didn't know that. So the baby would go, off into like a little baby jail cell, and he or she would be like, oh my God, where are those people I've been listening to for the last 7 months? Like, where did they go? And they're all alone and they feel abandoned. And then they come to me 30, 40 years later and they're like, I keep attracting situations in my life where people leave me. And I just feel like everybody's going to leave me, and that I'm not good enough and I'm not important enough. And then so we do a series of, it's called we go back into your childhood from 0 to 7. First, it's going to play out in your life right now. So I'm going to ask you about a situation that affected you recently, and we're going to define the emotion. And then we're going to go back to a time in your teens or in high school when something came up around this emotion. And then we're going to go all the way back to childhood. And if we can't find something from 0 to 7, the last thing is it came from a C-section if you're dealing with feelings of abandonment all the time. Okay, so these are some of the things. And then we work with that little child, because that little child, we have two little, sides of us. One that's, if we haven't done the work, mostly our inner roommate is like, you suck. Everybody's going to abandon you. If you fail, if you try, you'll fail. All of these things come up for us. Okay, so they need to be cleared. And once they're addressed, it's just this inner child inside of you just needing love. So when you begin to start to listen to this inner child, you can connect with this inner child and you can say, I got you. I got you. Now I get it. I get where this fear is coming from. I get where this anxiety is coming from. And you no longer have to worry anymore because I've got you. I've got you. I love you so much. You are everything to me. And your mom and dad love you too. And they didn't know at the time that they had to hold you. Or if you don't have the parents, the ultimate parents that you wish you had, envision a loving person going and picking you out of say, for example, it's a C-section or whatever it is that we go back to in your childhood, embracing that child, holding that child, letting that child cry, letting that child just be. And this process usually leaves everybody in tears, but everybody in relief and joy, because they've actually figured out why something has been plaguing them for so long. Okay, even relationships. Say, for example, we had an alcoholic father or an alcoholic mother, and then, but that's what we know as love. From 0 to 7, we're just full of love. So it doesn't matter what happens in our house, if we're beaten or this is where we get our love. And it doesn't, we learn that that's a love. So then we go into our 20s and 30s and we look for a relationship like that because that's what we think is love, right? So then we have to undo that stuff so we can begin to have healthy relationships and we can begin to set boundaries. This is something I'm working on in my relationship right now too. And, when you're in containers like this with a life coach, it's like, we're mirroring each other too, because I'm always learning from you. So it's just a huge gift. This is why I love my job so much too, because, at this moment, I'm working on boundaries, like I was saying, because I'm kind of the type of person that I realized I was always trying to be nice, and maybe to the point of people pleasing, but more like nice, because I heard that growing up. It was like, be nice, like the little kids, like they even learn that, be nice, so we grow up as adults and we're all trying to be nice to each other instead of being kind. We're not man nice, we're man kind. And that means we have boundaries. And even when we have children, we have to have boundaries because, your children may not like you because you set a boundary, but they're always going to love you. And so that's sometimes really hard for us to set boundaries. And so, because we count 1, 2, 2.5, and we're still doing that in our adult life, right? We're still counting, and then 2.5, nothing's happening, 3, like, and then nothing happens. And if we don't enforce those boundaries, then we go into our adult life and nothing is changing and everybody's walking all over your boundaries. Okay, so this is really important for a self-love practice, for respect for yourself, for respect for others. By you holding your own boundaries, you're teaching others to hold theirs. Okay, so people showing up on time, to not canceling on you when you've got a busy schedule. But again, there's also this other aspect of things. It's being in that space of trust. If somebody has to cancel on me, I'm not so angry because it always seems to work out. Okay, because I really do. If you come into this space of trust, then it's like, that every single thing is here for you. Even if you're late for something, that if you trust that you're always going to try do your best to be on time, because that's important, because you value other people's time, just like I'm valuing your time right now, because nothing is more valuable than you. There is literally nothing that you can invest in that is greater than you. You can buy a house, but it's still not you. It's not going to make you happy. You can have the fancy car, the Lamborghini, but it's still not working on you and what's going on with you. So again, the greatest investment is you and your time. So because I value others people's time, I'm going to show up. And so I expect others to show up. But again, if there's an emergency, I come into that space of trust, like everything is here for us. And I usually something even greater happens. Even, that's something I say to Scott, my husband. It's like, well, if you leave me, then that means something better is coming in, right? So then you don't have that fear, even in relationships, that somebody's going to leave you. There's no need for that. When we build this muscle of, I am love, I am light, I have so much to give, I have so much to share, then that reflects in everything you do. Okay, so awesome. So next we work with the intuition. Okay, so again, if we're drinking tap water, we're going to clear that out right away, and we're going to start to get a nice source of water with like a nice borosilicate glass bottle or a copper water bottle. You're going to drink from a vessel of love. You can even infuse your vessel with love, like just by saying, this beautiful water is my life force energy, and it's making me younger and more beautiful. Why not? Right? Why not? Let's have a sip. This is love right here. Hydration. Hydration is key. Okay, so as we clear this, then our psychic ability comes online. And I'm going to teach you all these things. Like at this point, from eating so clear, drinking clean water, now I can start to hear, like if somebody has some thoughts going on in their mind that are really kind of, they're taking them over, I can hear them. I can feel and hold energy now in a room. I can really hold that space. I can channel now the words of source, because I know I'm not doing anything. I'm just being open to it. I ask God in the morning to use me, let me be of service, and then I can be of service. My hands are healing, and so are yours. I'm not different than you. You guys will have your own special, unique psychic abilities and gifts, and you may even have them, but you don't think of them as gifts, or perhaps you don't think of them as like, this is literally, we've all been given these gifts, and we have to tune into these gifts and be like, yes, yes. And again, the more and more you learn from these containers, the more and more humble you become, because it's like, wow, 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 this life is so precious. It's so, it's so short too. It's every moment is just, it's to be honored, it's to be appreciated. Because at the end of the day, one of the things too that I talk a lot to my clients about, because a lot of people come to me with a fear of death. Okay, let's just touch on that quickly. Death is something that we're all going to do, right? So why, it's the one constant we have in our lives, so why are we so afraid of it? And the other part of death is that you never really die. Okay, your soul continues on, and you have one life to the next life, to the next life, to the next life. And the reason I came to this conclusion was because in church there was a young boy, he was about my age, and he was in a wheelchair, and he had to move the wheelchair with his mouth. And I went home and I asked God, and I was like, God, why him and not me? Like, how does that happen? How come? And so the answer that I got was that this is his journey in this lifetime. Okay. And then I started to do research on past lives, and I started to look into my own past life, and I started to do past life regression with my clients. But I've learned that if a client can't deal with the lifetime that they're in right now, we don't look at past lives until they've handled the life they're in. But sometimes it really helps um, to give us a space of of gnosis, of deep knowing. Like, for example, when I did a past life and I was like, one of the witches in the Salem witch trial, and I had, being hung, or I felt like the pressure on my neck, whatever it was. Either I was chopped, my head was chopped off, or I was hung. Oh, Grizzly. And he's so cute. And so I felt this pressure, and it didn't scare me. It didn't scare me. What it did was give me the confidence to remember that I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing in this lifetime. You know, I'm helping people bring babies into the world. I'm helping people that can't figure out their life. I'm helping people remember how to heal themselves, remember to use their psychic abilities, connect with the angels and guides, connect with the outer world. That's another thing. I can communicate, I can receive messages from the other side. So, like, again, you can all do these things too. It's a matter of clearing the pituitary, the pineal, this gland here. Also, this fifth gland, when we start to get the first thing to go is often our thyroid. Okay. And when something happens with our thyroid, that means the body is lacking something. And thyroid is about speaking your truth. It's your fifth chakra. Okay. So when we're holding on to anger, when we're holding on to the past, when we're not sitting down and saying, hey, we need to have a conversation here. We need to talk and we need to make some changes, because I'm holding on to a lot in my body and I don't want to hold on to it. And I need to deal with it because it's my stuff coming up. But I also need to have a reflection of love and with me. So sit down and we'll have this conversation, and then say what's on your mind and make sure the person really hears it and makes a change. Okay. Because again, relationships are, if one person is growing and their light is just beaming, it can burn the other person out. And then you're going to find that you're going to attract somebody else that's beaming bright like you. Okay. And that's not a bad thing, but especially the divine feminine in this lifetime right now is really rising up. So we're looking at our masculine and we're like, what is wrong with you? Like, what's going on? And we don't want to do that as females. We want to hold the divine masculine and we want to bring them up too. And we want to see them shoulder to shoulder, the same but different. Okay. Because a lot of times in relationships, we're dealing with power struggles. There's a great book. It's called The Power of Now, that I really always recommend everybody reads. And The Power of Now explains about relationships and how often people feel intimidated or they're struggling. So they really want to gain that power. And that's what happens. That's why people in relationships struggle, right? Because they feel like there's one's always trying to take over the energy. Okay. So we have to come into a relationship and remember, shoulder to shoulder, we rise. Okay. And that means that everybody is equal, but different. Okay. Equal, but different, because this is a really important thing that we have to remember when we're struggling in these different relationships, is equal, but different. Okay. Because we really are. We talk about this a lot, like we're all one. So, and we all come from the same root and we just have these different branches because of our experience. And even when somebody thinks differently than we do, we're equal, but different. Okay. So I had a client the other day. This is another thing. I had a client the other day that was like, that person, he's got multiple personalities. He was talking about someone else. And I said, okay, so whatever you say about someone else, you need to reflect that back upon yourself. Okay, because you wouldn't be having that experience with that other person unless you were a reflection of that. You just wouldn't have the experience. When you really, this is why I say, don't talk about anyone. There's no need. If you don't have something nice to say, then you need to go and do the inner work, because it's you that's struggling, right? It's you that's really struggling. because you're bumping up against all these people that are trying to teach you a lesson. Every single person that we come into contact with is actually here to teach us something. So like, even the person at the grocery store, every single person that comes in, and that's another thing. So when I work with people, like, I don't, I do the free 30-minute compatibility, um, usually for other people, but I trust that whoever is signing up with me or whoever hires me as a doula is the perfect client, because I asked God for who it is. I'm calling in the, let's say in the case of, I'm calling in people who are willing to grow, who are willing to look at their life and willing to say, hey, I'm ready to live this life to the fullest. I'm ready to make a change. I'm ready to invest in myself, because I know that nothing is more important than me. Because when I'm thriving, the whole world is thriving, because you are everything. So if you everything's going awesome in your life, it's going to reflect out in everything you do. It's going to reflect in your children, it's going to reflect in your relationship, it's going to reflect in your bank account, it's going to reflect in your car, it's going to reflect in the cleanliness of your home, it's going to reflect in everything. It's going to reflect in your job, your travels, the access you get to the world. Okay. So that's huge. I'm going to teach you guys to manifest. If you don't know how to manifest, this is how I got into this life, this what I do for a living, because I I really wanted a life coach, and I was running this group. It was called The Rise. And so we'd have like 20 to 30 people come to these group meetings, and we would invite people to come and talk and take the stage. And when there was nobody to talk, no guest speaker, I was usually leading everybody in their awakening, in their, whatever was going on. So we would speak into the room what you wanted to create, and then we would hold space for that person. And one time, one of our guests was a life coach, and he said, I will offer some free compatibility meetings. And so I had a compatibility meeting with him, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I told him all of my life, which I'd never sat down and told anybody anything, because I feel like there's a stigma around, even for myself. It was like, oh, what's wrong? You have a psychologist? And that is not, I just didn't know. I just didn't know that being held by someone was so important, and being able to share everything with someone. So I had this session with him, and he was like, how do you feel now that you're able to drop all of those stories? And I was like, wow, I feel like a completely different person. Like, I feel so amazing. And then I was like, wow, how much do you charge? And he said $500 an hour. I was like, oh my gosh, like, wow. I was like, okay, I'm going to work on manifesting this. And then it turned out that he needed a English teacher for his partner that was from Brazil. And so he was like, would you like to exchange life coaching for you teaching him English? And I was like, wow, yes, thank you, God. Okay, so there's something about manifesting. The thing is, like, for example, the new year, everybody has all these intentions. And the thing about the new year is, this is a specific calendar. The beginning of the year is actually April, is the first month of the zodiac. So that's really when we can set those New Year resolutions, right? Because like it's like something like 8% actually achieve the resolutions that they're creating at the beginning of the year, because we also had Mercury in retrograde. When Mercury's in retrograde, Mercury is the planet of communication. We don't sign contracts when Mercury's in retrograde. We don't buy electronics when Mercury's in retrograde. Mercury, when it's in retrograde, it's like a season. It's almost like it was the winter. It's time to go inward. It's time to look at yourself. It's time to clean up old things that we had going on. So we don't make those New Year's resolutions so much. Now we're moving, Mercury's out of retrograde. We also have the planet Mars that is the planet of action, so you can really feel that. It's like, that's why I've set up this masterclass for, like, it's time, it's go time, everybody. It's now or never. Like, we can sit around our entire lives and we can wait for the universe to like, or to win the lottery or something like that. But you are the lottery. You are the winning ticket. So now it's go time. Yes, it's go time. It's on you. You get to make the call. And I'm calling in leaders right here. Like, you guys are all leaders in your world. Everybody looks up to you. Everybody comes to you when they want to know something. Like, this is because you are the leaders in your community, and everybody wants to be in your space because you've got some light, you've got the love, you're doing something right. And it just takes us stepping into our greatness and saying yes. So learning to manifest is it's about being in joy. Okay, I'll tell you a quick story. I wonder if I even have it here. So it's a quick story. So I wanted a new car. And I was like, okay, universe, what's it gonna be? What's my new car gonna be? And and I was driving, I was just gonna go on a hike. And I went on a hike in nature, and I was so excited about this new car. But I had already just kind of left it. I was just in joy. And I was walking by people, and I was really excited. And if anybody was down, I would ask their higher self if they needed a healing. And if I got a yes, I just like send some energy their way. I kept on walking. And then I finished my hike. I went to Trader Joe's, and in the parking lot was this, like, it was like, I was like, oh my God. It was this gorgeous red and black Mercedes Benz with my name on it. Almost like on the license plate. Let me see if I have the picture somewhere. Oh my gosh, I do. 1 second, let me show you. Okay. NKA Shar. You see that? I was like, whoa. God, you talk to the source, you talk to the creator, you talk to the trees, knowing everything is one, knowing you are God, you talk to the others as if they are God. What potential do we have to live a full, exciting life and be grateful every morning we wake up? So I was like, oh my God, wow, took pictures of it. I was like, this is so crazy. And then the girl comes out, and she was like, I was like, oh my God, I got to go talk to her. So I went to talk to her, and I said, wow, what does your license plate mean? And she said, NKA Shar. I can't remember now. It was so long ago that this happened, and I just found this picture. It meant something like catch me. Shar meant catch me if you can. I can't remember what NKA meant. But oh, it'll come to me. But anyway, I knew that NKA was something important. So then what else I'll teach you is to use a pendulum or to use some form of muscle testing. Okay. So this is a pendulum. And a pendulum is just a different way to use your intuition. So I went through what NKA was and I came up with the title of my next book, which is Neutral Kinetic Alchemy. I was like, there has to be some sort of reason. And then there was Shar. And then I even calling in my partner, my husband, I was like, one morning, God, I really would love that human with the big smile to show up in my yoga class today. And I'd love to have 11 people. Well, 11 is also 2. So that morning I had 2 people in my yoga class and he was one of them. And I was like, you see, it comes from this state of pure joy, pure joy. Just think about what you want, come into this space of joy, and then just let it go and watch it come in. And when it comes in, make sure you say thank you. It just humbles you. It just humbles you because it's like we need to remember to keep one foot in gratitude, one foot in gratitude, one foot in desire. It's the walk of life. One foot in gratitude, one foot in desire. And I really realized that too with, the temple that I live in right now. I asked God for floor to ceiling windows. This has been on my list for a while. I want floor to ceiling windows, and it's coming. And I found myself in Costa Rica, gifted for 10 days this gorgeous home in the middle of the jungle with floor to ceiling windows. And I was like, oh, wow, you see how it comes in? Like, this wasn't my car, but it was to remind me how powerful I was. And I never did get this car, but it was, again, just to show me how powerful we are when we tune into the frequency of our divine God self. Okay, each and every one of us has these special gifts. So when we tune into that frequency, when we come into a space of joy, no doubts, no worries, no fears, the inner roommate was like, yes, you got this. Yes, you're beautiful. Yes, you're successful. You're everything. Just keep sharing instead of you suck, you'll never amount to anything. My inner roommate is on my side now. Right? Get your inner roommate on your side. Okay, give your inner roommate a name. Even when my inner roommate, when she used to talk bad to me, I would say, what? That's so mean. Did you really say that to me? And I started to giggle with her. And I was like, hey, I get it. You need a little attention. I'm here. What do you need? Oh, you need some self-love. Okay. Because you didn't get it at this point in your life. Okay. So next, we only have 9 minutes, so I gotta go quick. Your angels. I'm going to teach you to connect with your angels. I'm going to teach you about angel numbers. Okay. We all have guardian angels. We have about 2 to 3 guardian angels, but literally we have thousands of guardian angels. And an angel is an aspect of you. Okay, it's just an aspect of you, but they're really here to help you as well. So when you start to see 333, that's the angel saying, hey, I'm here to help you. So yesterday I saw 333. I was like, yes, angels, tomorrow's going to be amazing. I'm going to be full of energy and I'm going to really inspire people to take their life to the next level. And then I saw 444, and that's the angel saying, we got it. We're working behind the scenes to make everything go smoothly for your call tomorrow. They answer. Okay. So your angel spirit animals, I kept seeing crows the other day. It was like big change coming in, like literally crow right in front of my window, and hummingbirds, joy, spiders, like big spiders in front of you. I mean, so look these animals up, look it up. Spirit animal, what does it mean? It's got a message for you. And you know, your guides, there's an amazing book. Let's see, it's not coming in for me right now, but it's the Sophia Code. It's called the Sophia Code. Read that. That will take you to your next level in ascension, connect you to Mary Mother, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Kuan Yin, Isis. So many of these teachers that came before us that will catapult you into who you truly are and remove the fear and the addiction to suffering that a lot of us hold. Okay, next. Help you conquer fear and anxiety. Okay, fear, false emotions appearing real, noticing where the fear comes from, the anxiety that builds up. It again, what are you eating? My clients with the most anxiety are eating a lot of processed food. Okay, the processed food is uh I mean, it's a killer. We see it. Even like food that's sprayed with chemicals. They're Europe. That's why you can go to Europe, because they don't have GMOs on their food, because there was a report, it was called the Seralini report, that was released. This scientist was paid millions of dollars to tell everybody that the rats did not get tumors and did not die. And he stood up there and he was like, I cannot live with myself if I didn't tell you all my rats died. So don't put chemicals on the food. And so Europe has, even McDonald's, you can go and you can eat and you never get the big old belly expansion, because in Canada and the US we're wonderful targets for, and you know, to be experimented on. So just what we're anxious because we're eating crap. We're putting crap in our body. We're listening to crappy music. When I got in an Uber the other day, it was like swear word after swear word in the music. And you know, my girlfriend's a broke ass biatch. And it was like, hey, you know, this is the energy we're putting into our bodies. So what are we reading? What is the TV? What is the message on the TV? These are really important things to look at. What are you listening to? What are you ingesting? Because again, the whole body is so beautiful, even going number two. You know, like there's so much stigma around going number two. It's like, this is a gift to take in and to detox. We have to be able to release. We have to be able to take in. We have to be able to release. Okay. All right. So that I'm going to leave you with that. We have about 5 minutes left, and I'm going to stop the recording. And if anybody wants to ask one quick question, please share, or if anybody wants to share anything about working with me, that would be super cool if you want to jump on, or anything you learned today. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording here. And thanks everybody for being here.